5 questions leaders should be asking all the time. We're going to go into a 2-part series of this. This is part 1 of questions that leaders should be asking all the time. Now, the best teachers have something in common with their peers. They ask questions that force the students to move beyond the simple answer, that test their reasoning, that spark curiosity, and that generate new insights. They ask questions that force students to think and to think deeply. Now, what about business leaders? Business leaders too need to have questions and that invoke thought and reasoning ability from their colleagues, their employees, and they might have years of experience in the field that they're in, and they may have their company's backing in everything they do, and they may feel that their job is to have answers for questions. But great leaders have to do the same as a teacher. They have to inspire great thinking, curiosity, creativity, all of those things to help their people that are working for them to thrive. And it means asking great questions. And people are only going to answer the questions if they're something that's thought-provoking. They'll answer questions, true. But the question has to be good to get a good answer. And asking a great question or a good question is not an easy task. It requires us to look beyond the simple question, the simple answer. It requires us to encourage our colleagues to do the same thing. It requires courage and tact, and to generate questions that's not going to put up a defense. It requires us to be willing to listen and to follow up. I believe that there are useful questions across a variety of contexts, and I think the workplace is one of the most important to ask these questions. I think that there are essentially only 5 questions that one needs to ask in life. And I believe these questions are equally as important for anyone, especially if they're in a leadership role or if they're trying to influence others. Number 1, wait, what? Too often we jump to conclusions without having enough information. We listen just long enough to form a quick response. And then we either endorse or oppose without really thinking about what we heard. This puts us at risk of having faulty decisions, making the wrong choice, leaving key assumptions untested, and missing out on potential opportunities. Leaders as well as employees need to make sure that they ask enough questions to find out exactly what they're talking about, to get their colleagues to explain more in detail so that we can evaluate the right or the correct answer that we need to make at that crucial point. And especially if something doesn't sound quite right, we want to make sure we get the full understanding of what's being asked of us. Asking, wait, what? Is an exercise in understanding, which is critical in making informed decisions and judgments. And this doesn't matter if it's in the boardroom or the office. It's very important to make sure of that. Wait, what? Is a book from James E. Ryan, the Dean of Harvard's University Graduate School of Education. Check out the link below. I have it in the description. Number 2, I wonder why, or I wonder if. Now, children are great at asking these questions. They're ready and eager to find out what's going on. And it's important for us to ask those same kind of questions that children do. When children ask, why is the sky blue? Or I wonder why the sky is blue. It causes us to think about it and make an answer, come up with an answer that's going to satisfy that child. They prompt us to think and reason on the subject, and so we come up with a satisfying answer, not only for us, but also for them. So similarly, as leaders, we want to have that thinking of a child, of what wonder, of how we're going to answer these questions that come up. How are we going to be able to open up new ideas with the answers we make? So that curiosity has to be there. And then we can come up with long-standing and lasting solutions to these critical questions that are being asked. So it's very important to keep that in mind. Wondering why sometimes leads to questions that are unsatisfactory. As in, we do it this way because it's easier, or this is the way it's always been done. Those are terrible answers. But asking, I wonder why, is the first step in the inertia of changing that, of changing something that has always been done status quo, or this is how we've always done it. That's the first step, is wondering why. I wonder why. When you do that, then it creates something new. That's because it leads to the perfect follow-up question. I wonder if things could be done differently. Those two questions are great questions. It can begin the process of change and start you and your colleagues to think differently and maybe make growth for the company and for that department. Anyway, that's the end of part 1. We're looking forward to part 2 to continue with this thought of the 5 questions that leaders should ask. Thank you for being here. Appreciate you guys. Have a great day. Check out the links below. I have that book in the link below. We'll talk about that. Anyway, have a great day. Ciao.